You are a Locked On Braves postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. We stayed up late. We're glad you stayed up late. If you're watching it first thing in the morning, though, we don't blame you, but we got good news either way. The Braves able to hang on for an 8-7 win over the LA Dodgers to open up this 4-game series, a pivotal series for both teams as the battle for home field advantage in the postseason is hanging in the balance here, not to mention all the other storylines. There's a rivalry between these two clubs, a postseason history, an MVP debate, all kinds of things we're going to get into on today's edition of the Braves Postcast. Before we get started, let me remind you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Click that bell. You'll get a notification every time we drop a new episode. Leave us a like and a comment. We appreciate those. And, of course, subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast, because that's where you'll find this man, Jake Mastroianni. Welcome back to the show, sir. Happy to have you with me, and happy that we stayed up late for what turned out to be one of the instant classic games of the 2023 season.
Yeah, one of the better games of the season, obviously, because you get to win. Very close to being one of the worst and most difficult games of the season, but we'll take a win. I had somebody tweet after, how did we survive that 2021 NLCS? I don't know, because this is a game that probably doesn't have many significance on the rest of the season, but, man, it was a hard-fought one, had all the nerves and everything going along with it.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like a big game. And, of course, we got some history from Ronald Acuña Jr. He's locked in this battle for MVP with Mookie Betts. Whether people thought this was the case a month ago or not is irrelevant, because Betts has been coming on strong, as have the Dodgers here in the second half. And Ronald Acuña Jr.'s steady greatness has just been one of the great stories of the 2023 Braves. So why not talk about that right now? But let's get caught up on the box score and the line score of this game, number 133 of the season. As the season is ticking away, we have already turned the calendar to the month of September. As we sit here recording this, Braves now 88-45, 8 runs, 9 hits, no errors, 5 men left on base. Dodgers 83-50, 7 runs, 9 hits, 1 error, 7 men left aboard. Spencer Strider picks up the win. He was also a part of this game. We'll talk about him. 16-4 now on the year. Lance Lynn took the loss, drops to 10-10. He got a 6-spot dropped on him in the second inning by the Atlanta Braves. That proved to be a pretty pivotal turning point in this game for Atlanta. Raisel Iglesias, 27 save. He's been a busy man lately. We'll get into that. 2 hours, 52 minutes time of game. 47,623 fans were on hand for what I felt like was just kind of a Hollywood thrill ride. I tweeted this earlier, or I guess I posted it on X earlier. If you like roller coasters, this is your kind of baseball game. Jake, Spencer Strider was on the mound to start this thing out. The Braves score a 6-spot for him. He really only made one mistake, but it's hard to look at Mookie Betts and say that, well, you'd like to have that pitch back. It was 99 miles an hour up and away. 3-run homers started the Dodgers on their comeback trail, or their hopes of coming back to win this game. But overall, the Braves offense was able to do just enough, and Spencer Strider was able to keep it manageable, though the bullpen got a little bit shaky late.
Yeah, I did. It's kind of felt like one of those starts for Strider this year where, he has that dominance, and then it's just, a walk and then a home run, and it just makes his line look a lot worse than maybe it really was. Started off the game, location, command, a little bit off. He walked Mookie to start the game, gave up the hit to Freeman. Great play by Nicky Lopez that doesn't need to get overlooked in that first inning as well. Kept that from being a bigger inning. But after that, really settled in. We saw a lot of 9900s in this game. I thought maybe Strider was going to wear out. I don't think that was the case. I know he gave up those runs late, but it's still, he was still hitting 97, throwing upper 90s, but I really thought he locked it in after that. Was dotting up the corners. Strike zone was kind of hit or miss tonight a little bit as well, but I still thought he was doing a great job and had some great command after that first inning. You mentioned, the Betts home run. Betts, he's obviously such a good hitter, has a very good case for MVP. He let Strider do all the work in that. You can see the swing. He just took the bat up to that pitch up and away and let the speed and the velocity of Strider kind of just take that ball out. And it barely got out. Acuña almost made that catch. If he could have gotten back there a little bit sooner, maybe he catches it. But either way, Mookie Betts is just on an unbelievable run right now and had a home run later in the game as well. But, with Strider, still thought obviously it was another good outing for him. Like you said, just a one swing. And I think for him, if you go back and look at that, it's the walk to Outman. And that's the at bat where I look at, there's a couple of pitches there that were called strikes at time in this game weren't in that at bat. There's also the check swing to Mookie that was really close there as well. I mean, razor thin of really getting through that inning. And again, his line looking a lot different, but that just seems to be kind of the thing that's gone awry for Strider at times this year is that home run ball. So either way, still able to get through the 6 innings there. Wish he would have obviously been able to limit the damage, but still thought it was a good start from Strider overall.
Yeah, would have loved that catch by Ronald Acuña Jr., not going to lie, but Ronald did a few other things in this game that helped the Braves out immensely. That would have been quite the moment, though, considering who he would have been robbing of a potential 3-run homer at that moment had that gone a different way. But we're not the Braves What If show. This is the Braves Postcast, and unfortunately for Atlanta, for Spencer Strider, that ball had just enough to get out of the ballpark. 6 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, couple of walks, 9 strikeouts, the 1 home run he allowed, only 92 pitches, but did not come back out for the 7th. I think he had done everything that he could do at that point, and the Braves pretty much had their bullpen set up the way that they wanted it to. I want to circle back to that because we need to talk about how exactly the Braves got into this position and how exactly Spencer Strider was in a position to win this game, and that is Atlanta's 6-run second inning. Ronald Acuña Jr. becomes the first member of the 30-60 club with a grand slam home run off Lance Lynn, but a lot of things happen just to get Ronald up to the plate. Jake, this was pretty much one of those things where as it started to come together, you felt like the moment was going to be there for Ronald Acuña Jr. if he could reach out there and grab it or just reach out there and put a ball over the wall, and that's exactly what happened. But you mentioned Nicky Lopez making a diving play, but working a walk to bring up Ronald Acuña Jr. to bring a run across, it really felt like that's when Lance Lynn went from bending slightly to breaking by the time Ronald Acuña Jr. was done.
He did. And I mentioned the strike zone earlier, and I want to harp on it. I think it had a huge effect on the game, but he walked a couple of times in that at bat before Nicky Lopez actually did walk. But, we talk about situation with batters hitting in front of Ronald, and they're going to get, fastballs and those kind of counts. But it almost felt like Lynn was, trying too hard to throw a strike, maybe knowing Acuña's on deck. He was also struggling a little bit with command there. But either way, I mean, to throw that breaking pitch on 3-2 to Nicky Lopez, that is quite a decision with Ronald Acuña Jr. on deck. But Ronald able to come up in that moment, such a big moment. I mean, it gave me such 2018 playoff vibes with that grand slam that he hit there, obviously off Walker Buehler. But I mean, rising to the occasion there on his wedding day of all things, hitting the grand slam. I mean, you couldn't. I know it's a Hollywood, moment here, but that's exactly. I mean, you couldn't script it any better than that. I mean, just what an amazing swing by Ronald going up, getting that pitch, a no-doubter. I think his home run was longer than all the Dodgers home runs combined in this game. They had a couple of wall scrapers, but I mean, what a shot from Ronald. What a moment for him in that game, getting that big grand slam to get to 30-60 on the year. And oh, by the way, he added a stolen base later as well.
Yeah, Ronald Acuña Jr.'s line looks awfully good in this one. 3 for 4, the home run, a grand slam, knocked in his 4 runs on that one swing. The stolen base was his 62nd of the year, and just so many things that went on in that second inning. The walk to Nicky Lopez, which, as you mentioned, I don't know why you would throw him a breaking ball there. I know he was kind of battling through, was Lance Lynn, to try to get something done in that inning, but I wouldn't take any chances with having to face Ronald Acuña Jr. with him loaded. I'd just go right after Nicky Lopez. And if that means firing fastball after fastball after fastball, that would probably be the route I'd go. But since I have 0 major league innings under my belt, I can understand that sometimes you just get a little bit too fine. And I do think that was a decision that became very costly for Lance Lynn, of course, in that one. You look at the rest of the inning, Austin Riley with his 32nd home run as well. That was another highlight in this game. Michael Harris with a 2-for-5 game with a couple of runs batted in. Had another line drive late that, were it not for the one guy on the left side of the infield, might have snuck another base hit through. Braves could have maybe, sparked another rally at that point. Just wasn't to be there. But Harris had a good game batting second. And we talked a lot about Nicky Lopez and why was he in the game? Because Ozzie Albies was getting a scheduled day off. I know they're trying to kind of be mindful of the hamstring issue that he was dealing with. They want him in there against the lefty Urias, who's going to throw tomorrow. But Jake, I mean, you talk about a decision. Not having Ozzie Albies in game one kind of had a few people raising their eyebrows, but Nicky Lopez, even though he didn't get a hit, scored 2 runs. The bases loaded walk obviously reached on an error. That was a big play for the Braves as well. Just a lot of things went right in addition to what he did defensively to help out the Braves. And then Michael Harris in the second spot of the order was one of the feature hitters for the Braves in this game, with Ozzie Albies just sitting and watching as Atlanta was able to hang on in a nail-biting fashion to this 8-7 win.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every day you get to take an all-star out of your lineup and be able to plug him in with somebody like Nicky Lopez who can have an impact like he did in this game. I mentioned the play defensively and then the walk that he had, like you said, and reaching on that air, ended up scoring a run. I mean, doing some good things. I also don't want to, gloss over the fact that Orlando Arcia's elite speed also helped that second inning as well, beating out that ground ball, got overturned. That was a huge call, huge play in the game as well. But yeah, Nicky Lopez doing some good things at the bottom of the order. Michael Harris, a big home run as well. That's what you love to see. You got the 6-run second inning, but you got some add-on runs later, ended up being huge in this game. And I mean, it's crazy to think the Braves scored 8 runs, 9 hits. Also feel like they were a little unlucky in this game. A lot of lineouts. You mentioned some of those already. I feel like they could have done even more damage, just a little bit of batted ball luck. They had 16 hard hit balls in this game. Everybody in the lineup had a hard hit ball. Matt Olson had 3 hard hit balls in this game. He and Riley both flew out to deep center in this one, just missing home runs. So it felt like they were just on the verge of doing even more offensively in this one, but fortunately enough, able to do just enough to win the game.
Yeah, and that's good to see, obviously, from Matt Olson. He's in, a 16, maybe now 17-game homerless streak, and that's very unlike Matt Olson at any time in his career, but particularly in a home run happy year in which he set a career high with 43 and has a chance for a 50-homer season if he can get himself back on track and hit a few more of those. But yeah, I just go back and look at this second inning, and it was an absolutely incredible string of events of things that just had to go right to get Ronald Acuña Jr. up there in that moment. Marcell Ozuna's leadoff single. Eddie Rosario flew out. He just missed a home run. You mentioned another guy that had put a charge into one. It wasn't able to get out of the park. How about Sean Murphy hit by pitch? The Orlando Arcia, there's a challenge because he was initially called out. The Nicky Lopez walk, and then the Acuña grand slam, a Riley home run. And it was quite the inning and quite an important inning by the time all things were said and done. We're going to talk a little bit about the Braves bullpen and some of the struggles that they ran into. But I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors. This episode of the Braves Postcast brought to you by Bunches. Bunches is a new app built just for sports fans where you can chat sports in real time. Download the Bunches app today. When you do, our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB Bunch in the Discover tab. So check that out. Click the link in the show notes or go to the Apple App Store and download Bunches now. Join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. Braves bullpen, that bunch had a little bit of trouble in this game. Joe Jimenez has been so good. Gave up a pair of solo home runs. AJ Minter has looked good since coming off the injured list. He also was hit up for a solo home run. You mentioned it, Jake. The Dodgers didn't hit a whole bunch of 400-plus foot home runs the way that the Braves did in this one, but they all count the same when they go over the wall, I guess, in terms of it doesn't matter how far you hit it if it leaves the ballpark. I guess I should say that because the runners on base is kind of an important factor. Dodgers, though, other than the Mookie Betts 3-run homer, it was a lot of power late, but the Braves were able to survive despite the fact that LA hit a bunch of solo homers, including the second of the game from Betts in the late innings.
Yeah, a rough game for the bullpen for sure, and 2 guys that have been really good for you. You knew Iglesias had worked the last couple of days. Wasn't sure if he was going to be available, but he did. A little scary there in the 9th inning, but was able to make some big pitches when he needed to get out of that. But for Jimenez, 2 strikeouts, but 2 solo home runs as well. I mean, just kind of an up and down performance for him. I thought he threw some really good pitches in this one. And then he also just left some middle. And the way the Dodgers are hitting right now, I mean, they are really hot. I think that was just their 5th loss in the month of August. So they've been really good, swinging a really good bat. They're just not missing those pitches right now. AJ Minter leaves a cutter right over the middle of the plate. I mean, hitters are doing what they're supposed to do with those pitches. Good hitters doing what they're supposed to do with those pitches. So just some mistakes by them. Again, guys that have been really good, guys that need to be good for this Braves bullpen and for this Braves team to have success. So not worried about them, in the slightest going forward, but certainly a rough night for them against a really good team and a really big game. But again, Iglesias, to me, coming up big, making those pitches that he had to, getting Kike Hernandez there, dotting bottom, down and away with 2 fastballs and getting with that slider off the plate. I thought that was a huge sequence there to end the game.
Yeah, it definitely was. And that's one of those things where you can get into a little bit of trouble. I mean, he got a ground ball that a lot of times might have been a ball that would have helped get him out of that inning a little bit quicker. But unfortunately, a base hit. The Dodgers had their threat going. Iglesias able to get out of it, but I would be remiss not to mention Pierce Johnson getting out of some trouble in the 8th inning with a big strikeout for him. He's been nailed since coming over from the Rockies. You wouldn't think that, the Braves got some Rockies relievers, and that's going to be the key to some of their bullpen success in big games against a team like the Dodgers that should be very familiar with other relievers from the NL West. But Pierce Johnson came in, got a big strikeout. Iglesias with the 9th inning, save number 27 of the year for him. Talked a little bit about Ronald Acuña Jr. earlier, that 30-60 number of his, the only player in baseball history with 30 home runs and 60 or more stolen bases. Clearly, 70 is out in front of him. Otis Nixon's franchise record of 72 is out in front of him. I don't know if he's got 10 home runs in him in the month of September, but Jake, if he does, he's going to join an even more elite club because, 40-60, 40-70, my goodness, I saw what Mookie Betts has done, and I am a believer in the season that he's having, but 40-70 would be a pretty undeniable thing. I don't know that we're going to get there, but I'm just saying we may get there. We also may not get there, but I guess I'm not saying that we won't if I use enough double negatives to make the joke that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we will or we won't or we will. I don't know what will happen the rest of the way, but I know one thing. Ronald Acuña Jr. is having a historic season, and it's going to be a tough vote. I don't have a vote for MVP. If I did, obviously I'm biased, but it's, you're going with the history right now and what Acuña is doing and something we've never seen before. I really can't hope he get those 10 home runs in September because I don't know how you could deny that. Having that type of season. But again, I don't know that he'll get there. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, as you greatly explained a minute ago. But, I do think, what he has done is just truly, truly amazing. I do wonder, I know he said he wants to play 162. If the Braves maintain this lead, do they pull him back a little bit and try to keep him fresh for the postseason? Maybe does that hurt his chances of getting to some of those numbers? But to do something nobody's ever done in the history of this game and to do it with a month left in the season, I mean, it's just remarkable what he's doing in the historic season that he's on. It's just unfortunate that Mookie Betts is on one of the most incredible runs we've ever seen as well, and what he did in the month of August.
Yeah, well, not unfortunate for the Dodgers. They're very happy about that, and Freddie Freeman hasn't been bad himself, and of course, Matt Olson is putting together a pretty great season. So you've got 4 of the guys that you feel like are going to be the top vote getters in the National League and MVP, in addition to the 2 best teams in the National League going toe-to-toe. This is going to be quite the series. Braves with their 3 home runs, now 253, as they try to make a charge at the Minnesota Twins, who hit 307 home runs in 2019. Braves, by some very simple math, need at least 54 to tie, 55 to break it in the month of September. They've done it before. Maybe they can do it again. But 253 home runs, tied for the 14th most by any team in any season in baseball history. So the Braves will continue to climb up that list with the more homers they hit. Spencer Strider with 9 more strikeouts, 246 on the year. Only 2 Braves pitchers have ever, Atlanta Braves pitchers, and really since 1900 in the franchise, have ever struck out more batters in a season than Spencer Strider now with 246. It's John Smoltz who holds the record, and Phil Niekro has the next 2 highest totals, including 262 strikeouts in 1978. So it's a little bit of history out in front of Spencer Strider. He could get there in 2 or 3 starts, and the way he's been pitching and just piling up the strikeouts, there's a very good chance that he could have a date with some history a little bit later. Biggest lead for the Braves in their quest for best record in a minute, 5 games, because it seems like every day the Braves and Dodgers have been winning simultaneously, and neither club's been losing that much lately. But best record in the National League belongs to the Braves by 5 games, and of course, home field advantage in the National League, or in the postseason, I should say, is at stake in that. And the Braves' magic number for the NL East is 16. So I hope that's enough numbers for you to try to wrap this thing up before we take a look ahead to what is going on in Game 2 of the series, as the Braves and Dodgers will meet again on Friday. Got to tell you about our great friends at FanDuel. They are the sponsor of this episode of the Braves Postcast. Get ready for NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All customers who bet that $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV as well. So now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel is the official partner of the NFL. Braves and Dodgers will meet for Game 2 of this series. Max Fried, Julio Urias, a battle of lefties. And for the Braves, Jake, at the very least, a split of this series does the Dodgers absolutely no good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said coming into this, you get a split on the road in a place where the Braves have struggled to win over the last several years. You would definitely take that. You said 2 lefties. I think many people would have considered these 2 of the best lefties in all of baseball not too long ago. So going to be a great pitching matchup. Hopefully see Fried get going here. And again, as he continues to work his way back and get ramped back up. I think he's at that point now. Now you just kind of want to see him refine things a little bit. But looking forward to another great game. Maybe a little less stressful. Hopefully a little bit easier win for the Braves this time around.
Yeah, a bit of a homecoming for Max Fried as well. He grew up watching Dodgers games. Now he's going to be on that mound, and he's going to be going up against another tough lefty in Julio Urias. Freed's 5-1, Urias 11-7. First pitch is at 10:10 p.m. Eastern Time at Dodger Stadium. That'll wrap us up here on this edition of the Braves Postcast. Went a little bit long for you, but we had an awful lot to talk about on this edition of the show. And, who knows how the rest of this series is going to go these next 3 games. People are going to stay up late. You might not have any fingernails left by the time we get done with this series, but we'll have you covered right here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Appreciate you riding along with us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. Make sure you leave us a comment. And most importantly, leave us a like, share the show with a friend, and subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. Once again, the Braves with an 8-7 win over the Dodgers in Game 1 of this 4-game set. We'll be back at you tomorrow. And until then, so long, everyone.